Hi, welcome to Buffzone. My name is Kyle Ringo. I'm the CU beat writer for the Daily Camera. With me is Neil Welk, the veteran sports columnist for the Daily Camera.
What Kyle didn't tell you is that he also used to be the beat writer for the University of New Mexico Lobos. Coincidentally, last weekend there were 3 Division 1A teams in the nation that were beaten by Division 1 AA teams. Kyle's covered 2 of them, New Mexico, which lost to Portland State, and the University of Colorado, which lost to Montana State. So Kyle, why don't you tell us about that Montana State game?
The Ringo curse lives on, Neil. I got to tell you, when I was watching the game Saturday, Neil, it struck me that I never thought CU had superior talent.
I think that was clearly evident, and that's probably a little bit scary if you're Dan Hawkins. If you're going out there, you're supposed to be playing for BCS championships, Big 12 championships, competing. You've got Arizona State coming up. You've got Georgia coming up. You get to play Oklahoma this year. And right now you were looking at a team that had trouble competing against a 1AA team, granted ranked 11th in the nation in 1AA, but I think that team had better players at a lot of positions than Colorado, and that's a little bit scary.
Yeah, like you said, the best player on the field might have been Michael Jefferson, the wide receiver for Montana State. CU had trouble covering him. Montana State was just as big, just as strong, just as fast, just as athletic, and CU probably has a real problem on their hands right now if they can't compete with the likes of Montana State.
I think that's why this game coming up the next weekend when they play Colorado State's going to be a big one. But you're right, Montana State, that's a harbinger of not good things to come, I guess you would say. You know, there's an ill wind blowing if they can't compete with Montana State. Montana State was faster, they made plays, and maybe the scariest thing to me was they adjusted in the second half far better than Colorado did. The way they went to their short passing game, their defense adjusted well. Colorado had 3 3-and-outs in the third quarter, and to me that was maybe the most disturbing thing was that Montana State made better adjustments in the second half than Colorado did.
Yeah, without a doubt. We've talked about this before also, and I really feel like there's only a handful of guys on the CU roster right now who would be in the 2-deep depth chart under Rick Neuheisel or Bill McCartney.
Oh, no doubt. If you go back to the McCartney team of 10 or 11 years ago when they were getting 10 and 11 guys drafted in the NFL draft, when they were, finishing ranked in the top 10 in the nation, it would be hard to find more than 3 or 4 or 5 guys on this team that would fit into the 2 deep on that team. You could even go back to the 2001 Colorado team and say, okay, start plugging guys into that team, and you'd have a hard time finding many starters off of this team that would compete for a starting job on the 2001 team.
Yeah, I think hands down, Mason Crosby, the place kicker, he's a starter on just about any college football team in any generation. Then you got, in my mind, Brian Daniels, offensive guard, and center Mark Fenton. They could probably play on those Neuheisel and McCartney teams. Thaddeus Washington, inside linebacker, he could be in that 2-deep depth chart in that situation. Maybe J.J. Billingsley. Outside of that, I think Dan Hawkins has some serious talent problems that he's going to have to address over the next couple of years in recruiting.
I think it's just a problem if he's going to have to do a great job of coaching right now. He doesn't have a whole lot of All-Americans on this team. He doesn't have any All-Americans. What he's going to have to do is be able to mesh these kids, bring them together, and get the very best out of them. And I've said this before. Great players, it's easy to be a great coach if you have great players, and you can ask Mack Brown about that. Mack Brown became a great coach last year because he had a bazillion All-Americans. We'll see how good a coach Dan Hawkins is this year because he's got good players in a lot of places. He doesn't have a lot of great players anywhere. And if Dan Hawkins can mold this team into a competitive team, then I think it will show what a good coach Dan Hawkins is.
Dan Hawkins has 1 All-American. He's a consensus All-American. His name's Mason Crosby. But I agree with you. If Dan Hawkins somehow manages to take this team to a bowl game this year, I'll be impressed with the guy. That'll be a heck of a job.
Mason Crosby's on the field 5, 6, 7 plays a game, 8 plays a game.
But he's still an All-American, Neil. You can't say they don't have an All-American. He's a consensus All-American
there. I'd rather have 4 or 5 All-Conference, offensive and defensive linemen up front.
I'm just correcting the record, man.
There you go.
Anyway, enough about Montana State. On the next edition of Buffzone, we'll talk about everything having to do with the Colorado State game.
And the Ram Nation is coming to Denver.
Did you see a bunch of the 5 Rams got arrested today?
Yes, I did. I saw that. Grand jury investigation.
Yeah. That's something we're
That's
used to.
if they need any help covering that, they should call us.
The
We're
CSU
very familiar with grand jury investigations in these parts.
I'm tired of writing the word alleged.
Thanks a lot.